This is ABC15 Mornings.
Reopening Arizona. It's a process. Salons and retail businesses able to open their doors now, but restaurants still having to wait just a few more days.
And once those restaurants open, they are required to do so with some restrictions. We'll see what happened to one cafe that chose to ignore the governor's orders and welcome customers back in this week.
Also, it's that time of year when your family, of course, wants to get some relief from the hot weather and enjoy the cool waters of the pool. But COVID-19 has put a halt to a lot of swimming lessons this year. So we have some tips on how to keep those new swimmers safe as we head into the summer months. We say good morning to you as we come up on 6 o'clock on this Saturday. I'm NOHELANI GRAF.
And I'm Mark Thompson, social distancing from home. And speaking of which, Nohe, you know that I like to do a lot of swimming. Well, because of the pandemic and social distancing and all of that, my complex here, they have shut down the pool temporarily, so I haven't been able to get out and do that. But it sure would have been nice the past couple of days because it has been hot.
Definitely. I know you are chomping at the bit to get back in the water and get your exercise back in there. And, you know, for a lot of folks who are fortunate enough to have a pool, it definitely has been in overdrive out there. I've heard all of my neighbors outside lately. So here's the good news. For anybody who doesn't have a pool, our temperatures are going to start trending down. So at least a little bit of relief there. We're still going to be 5 to 10 degrees above the average for this time of year. Also, we're tracking some mountain storms this weekend that could kick into the valley and certainly are helping keep our temperatures down. Right now, I still think that you might want to put that coffee on ice, even as you take it out on the patio and enjoy it outside as you enjoy these cooler temperatures this morning. We're still in the 70s and we're going to be in the 80s by 8 o'clock this morning. By 9, we're already in the upper 80s. So I'll talk about just how warm we will get today. We are going to hit those triple digits, and when we'll finally see some relief from the triple digits, that's coming up in that full forecast.
All right, Nohe, thank you. And this morning we've got another piece in the puzzle surrounding two missing children with ties to the valley and their mother in jail. Of course, we're talking about Lori Daybell. Now, there are some answers to why Lori Daybell's brother died. Alex Cox has been referred to by many as Lori's right-hand man, and he's just one of the last people pictured with her missing children. J.J. Vallow and Tyree Ryan, they were last seen in September. The children and their mother, Lori, lived in the valley before moving to Idaho. That's where Lori is now behind bars and has refused to say where her children are. ABC 15's Claudia Rupsit, she has been following this very complex story and has more now on the autopsy results and new details.
The Maricopa County Medical Examiner says Alex Cox died of natural causes. He was found unconscious in his home here at Cooley Station back in December in Gilbert. His death is just one of many investigations surrounding Lori Vallow Daybell and her two missing kids. Reports show Alex Cox died from blood clots in his lungs and high blood pressure.
I have older male here named Alex. He just passed out here on my bathroom.
The 51-year-old was found unresponsive and later died in the hospital. The ME's report says Cox had been complaining of shortness of breath and chest pain for about a week.
Focus on Alex Cox is simple. He's close to Lori. He's close to the children. The children turn up missing. So yes, you're going to be interested in him.
Frank Montoya Jr. is a retired FBI special agent who's been following the case closely.
There are all of these connections, these indicators at least of connection.
Cox admitted to shooting and killing Lori's husband, Charles Vallow, last July. He claimed it was self-defense. Chandler police are investigating. Months later, Cox moved to Rexburg, Idaho, and got a place in the same complex as Lori and her two kids. The last record police have of Tylee is this photo, taken September 8th at Yellowstone National Park. Lori, JJ, Tylee, and their uncle Alex, they're together. Cox has also been accused of trying to kill their niece Melanie's ex-husband, Brandon Boudreau. He's never been charged with any crimes.
The fact that he died of natural causes doesn't absolve him of suspicion when it comes to what happened to the kids, just because of proximity. May have not had anything to do with them, their disappearance, or with the attempt on Brandon's life. But at the same time, I wouldn't say he's not a suspect, or at least a person of interest anymore.
The attorney representing Cox's widow released a statement saying the news that he died of natural causes confirms what the family already knew, that there was nothing sinister about his death, and it should help put to rest rumors of conspiracy and evil plots. The Gilbert Police Department tells me detectives will have to take a look at that report, but that the investigation into his death is still active. In Gilbert, I'm Claudia Rupsich, ABC 15 Arizona.
Claudia, that case still holding such interest for everyone. We are now 1 week away from the governor's stay-at-home order possibly ending, and already the process of reopening Arizona taking a big step forward. More businesses getting the green light to reopen. That includes salons and barber shops. We saw many across the valley open back up on Friday. Retail businesses also given the okay to resume in-store purchases if they want to. And now the attention turns to Monday, when restaurants will be allowed to start reopening their dining rooms.
And some restaurants are jumping the gun, and they're going to be facing some serious consequences, especially this case in Wittenberg. Now, the Horseshoe Cafe was served with a letter from Wittenberg's prosecutor, the owner choosing to defy the governor's orders last week, allowing people to dine in inside. She was cited but stayed open anyway. Now the town says if she does not stop immediately, that they will file criminal charges.
Right now, she's being threatened with becoming a criminal for just opening her business. We think that we're on the right side of this. So, you know, if they want to try to intimidate my client, we're going to stand up for her. She's going to stand up for herself. So, bring it.
For those restaurants that choose to let people dine in again, they'll have to keep customers at a safe distance, limiting the number of people inside, and no parties of greater than 10 are allowed inside at one time. They're also asking those workers to sanitize all surfaces after each and every customer leaves.
Now, on the other end of the spectrum, other restaurants say that opening their dining rooms on Monday is still just too much of a risk. Mark Pechtel, for one, of Zesty Zeke's Pizza and Wings, says that he's surviving on delivery and pickup right now, so he's fortunate. His employees are healthy, he's making money, and while he's planning to keep his doors to the restaurant for dining closed, he says he completely understands why others are choosing to reopen.
I can't begin to put myself into the shoes of a restaurant that has 95% of their business to sit down. The pain and suffering that must have been going on for the last 6 weeks, I can't even begin to imagine. And so for them to open up on Monday, I 100% support it and understand it.
Now, we did ask when Zeke's will be reopening their dining room. Mark's not willing to give an exact date just yet, only that he is going to continue to monitor the situation.
ABC 15 confirming that the Nordstrom's located in Chandler is closing permanently. The company recently announcing that they would close 16 of its retail stores, and we have now learned that this is one of them here in the Valley that's located at Chandler Fashion Center. Nordstrom's one of many companies nationwide dealing with economic fallout from the COVID-19 pandemic.
Let's talk about that most accurate forecast for you now. Check out these temperatures outside as you step out the door. It's a good time to go for an early morning bike ride or a little run around the neighborhood. We're in the 70s across the valley. In fact, places like Goodyear and Chandler, as well as Glendale, are in the low to mid 70s. So nice and comfortable out there, even though we see a few upper 70s. Later today, you're definitely going to want to be seeking relief, though, and looking for water. 102 is our forecast. So we're a few degrees below where we have been earlier this week, but still toasty out there as we go above the century mark. Know that that burn time is just a 15-minute window because the UV index is very high, so lots of sunscreen. Air quality improving just slightly, still in the moderate category, but better than it's been. And remember that we will see those highest temps between the hours of 2 and 6 o'clock. That's when it is at its hottest, and those UV indexes are at their peak. We'll talk about when we finally will get some relief in this forecast and what Mother's Day is going to look like if you have plans to celebrate at home with mom or maybe have a virtual celebration. We'll talk about that coming up.
All right, no, hey, thank you. Right now, 6:09 on your Saturday morning, and happening today, the Fresh Food Collab distributing healthy food boxes to those who need them. It runs from 7 to 9 a.m. at Agave Farms. The address is right there on your screen. Anyone who needs food, they can attend and get a box. More than 750 boxes are expected to be distributed. And starting today, the Bissell Pet Foundation is helping you out with your pet adoption fees. It's an effort to empty the animal shelters around the country. Now, if you adopt a pet between now and May 17th, you'll pay $25, and then Bissell will sponsor the remainder of that adoption fee. All adoptions are by appointment only to follow social distancing guidelines. Well, it's been months since getting on a plane seems like it's something that's normal. So when do we get to travel again, and what will change?
Also, extreme heat impacting a brush fire that we've been following in Apache Junction. We'll have the latest on what's being called the Flying Dutchman fire.
Welcome back, everybody. Well, a Friday night shooting in Tempe leaves one man in critical condition. It happened near Scottsdale in the Loop 202. We're told what started as a crash ended in gunfire. Police say that a witness who stopped to help ended up getting shot. No word on any arrests. And the police, they are still investigating this incident. We're also following a brush fire this morning. The Lost Dutchman fire forced evacuations in Apache Junction. It broke out Thursday and has burned more than 200 acres. The flames even forcing a nearby highway to shut down for some time. At last report, that fire is 60% contained.
Now, when we talk about that most accurate forecast, we definitely still have dry, warm conditions, so we have to be mindful of that wildfire danger no matter where you are across this state. But we are going to start to trend down in the right direction, I think, for our temperatures. Still going to be warm today, 102. We're still well above the average of 93 for this time of year, but we're a ways off from the record high of 108 that was set way back in the 30s. Right now, it's nice and comfortable. If you step out the door, you got to take the dog for a walk this morning. We're in the 70s across the valley, 70 degrees in Apache Junction, same with Cave Creek. We're in the low 70s in Deer Valley, as well as Goodyear and Levine, sitting at 73 degrees this morning. Across the state, we've even got some 60s out in Tucson and Safford, as well as Globe this morning. To our north in Sedona, you're sitting at 61 degrees, but we're in the 50s in Prescott this morning, as well as Show Low. Nice start to the day. That probably feels nice and crisp for you, but it's also close to freezing once again in Flagstaff, sitting at 37 degrees for you. Now here in the valley, here's what our warm up looks like hour by hour. We're going to warm into the 80s by 8 o'clock this morning, but our time there will be short lived. The 90s will be here even by 10 o'clock this morning, and then we'll continue to trend up from there. 98 degrees by 1 o'clock this afternoon, and then we start reaching our peak heat of the day at around 3 o'clock. You'll also notice that we've got just some light breezes across the valley today, around 5 miles an hour. So when we hit that forecast high, we're looking at triple digits across the valley. In Goodyear, Levine, and Peoria, a high of 102. Same temperature in Chandler and Mesa, as well as Gilbert. Santan Valley, Apache Junction, and Cave Creek all warming into the upper 90s. Anthem topping out at 97 for today, and Wickenburg looking to hit that century mark, 100 degrees even. We've got more triple digits to our south in Casa Grande, Gila Bend, and Yuma, topping out at 102. Warmest spot today is going to be along our northwestern border in Bullhead City. 104 is your forecast high. Up in Sedona, you're going to be a little toastier than usual, 90 degrees for you. You're usually an oasis up there, but it's going to be a little warmer. You're going to feel it. It will be cooler, though, if you're in Prescott today. 81 is your forecast high. In the north of the rim, we've got very comfortable temperatures, 79 in Show Low, 77 in Heber, and Flagstaff warming in just 75 degrees. We'll also have some light breezes picking up across the high country starting at around 2 o'clock this afternoon. We're talking sustained winds around 15 miles an hour, so nothing too bad. You could see an occasional gust around 18 miles an hour, and then those winds will die down by about 7 o'clock tonight, but we'll start to see them bubble up to our south because there are some isolated thunderstorms that are going to pop up across southern Arizona. In northern Arizona, you're more likely to see rain overnight and Sunday for Mother's Day. We do have a chance for isolated thunderstorms in your Sunday forecast. Got about a 60% chance, and temperatures are going to stay in the low 70s for that Mother's Day forecast. Here in the valley, I do think that we hit triple digits on Mother's Day, but right at that century mark, so some valley cities could actually stay in the upper 90s. So we'll cross our fingers for that. So if you want to order brunch for mom and still have it outside in those mid-morning hours, I think that would be a lovely treat for her, since I know it'll look a little different. We don't have those big Mother's Day brunches happening this year. On Monday, we finally trend back into the upper 90s, and then we work our way down each day to the middle of the week. We'll have breezier conditions Monday and Tuesday, and by Wednesday we're dropping down to a high of 92 degrees. So perspective is everything. When we've been warming to 105, 92, a full 10 degrees cooler is definitely going to be a welcome change. I'll let you know if those triple digits do creep back into the 7-day forecast when we take a look at the long range coming up a little bit later this morning, Mark.
All right, no, hey, thank you. Well, with fewer flights available and fear from passengers, the airline industry, it has been one of the hardest hit during this coronavirus pandemic. And now, because of mounting pressure, they've had to implement new safety measures for both passengers and crew, but some say that's still not enough.
Passenger counts plummeting amid this pandemic. Airlines slashing routes, in some cases leading to nearly packed planes like on this flight 2 weeks ago from New York to Raleigh. Still, an industry lobbying group says most major carriers are averaging just 17 passengers per domestic flight.
If we're talking about restoring the flying public's faith about the safety of getting on an airplane, there's certain things as a benchmark we need to all shoot for.
Captain Joe DePede is president of the Airline Pilots Association, a union representing more than 60,000 pilots for U.S. and Canadian carriers. DePede is pushing the FAA to do more when it comes to aircraft cleaning and notifying crew members who may have been exposed to the coronavirus.
They made CDC guidance, right? Centers for Disease Control guidance, recommended for the carriers, not mandatory. And as a result, what we're seeing is a varying patchwork of compliance amongst the carriers. Some carriers doing a good job, some carriers not doing a very good job at all.
Beginning Monday, both American Airlines and Southwest, the two biggest carriers at Sky Harbor, will require passengers to wear face coverings on flights. American says it's cleaning high-touch areas like tray tables, seatbelt buckles, armrests, and overhead bins after every flight. Southwest says it's enhanced its 6-hour overnight cleaning procedure on planes to use hospital-grade disinfectant throughout them. DePede saying those are all good things, but when it comes to health and safety, in this case, a blanket requirement is best.
What's happening right now with the FAA not doing all it can do is they're exposing crew and passengers to unnecessary, additional, and preventable risk.
That was ABC 15's John Genovese reporting. Sky Harbor Airport reports that they've seen a loss or a decline of 50% when it comes to foot traffic. That was in March, and they say when the new numbers come out, they expect a 90% decline year over year for April. Well, coming up, drowning prevention, how to make sure that your child is ready for the pool, especially during these odd times of social distancing.
The intense heat is here, and as more families go looking for relief, that also comes with the extreme responsibility of water safety and drowning prevention. So to talk about that this morning is Jackie Gizzi. She's the Director of Risk Management for Valley of the Sun YMCA. Jackie, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So let's start talking about the big picture first, and what is really the risk for families here in the Valley and across the state?
Absolutely. So Arizona is in the top few states for drowning incidents that occur and drowning deaths, specifically in pediatrics across the nation. And we have more pools per square capita than any other state in the country as well. So backyard pools, community pools, things like that, we are at a high number.
Now, we know that we have already seen multiple calls, even just in the last month, sadly, here in the Valley for drowning calls and children being pulled out of their backyard pools. So we always want to emphasize the ABCs of water safety. So take us through that and what that means.
Absolutely. I think right now parents are trying to figure out what their new normal is with having to work from home and having their children home doing homeschool, and out in their backyard happened to be a pool in a lot of homes here in Arizona. So, the ABCs really are reflected around A, which is adult supervision. So making sure that you are supervising children while they're in the home, but also while you're around the pool. So designated someone when you're using the pool with these temperatures rising to be a water watcher. So just really making sure that piece and that you know where children are at all times, right? So if they're supposed to be in a certain area, really talking to them about when they're able to use the pool and asking for permission and educating your children about water safety. And then B is barriers. So extremely important to think about putting door alarms on your doors that they have access to the outside. So that if a child was to open a door, an alarm will go off to alert you so that you can make sure that you know where that child is going and they're exiting the house without your knowledge. And then consider having a pool fence up around a pool. So that is a self-latching pool fence and lock, so that it'll lock behind once you close it, and that the child isn't able to reach it. So there are some height requirements around that as well.
With some of the incidents that we've seen before, we have seen that those homes have had pool fences. But maybe what people are overlooking is what's pushed against the pool fence and realizing that they've got a little climber in the household.
Yeah. Absolutely. And children are drawn to toys. So storing toys in a pool is not recommended. Really, you should be storing those toys outside the pool because they want to get in and play with those toys, or they remember that experience of being in the water, with their parents. So they're, that was a fun memory for them, which is really exciting. But they want to go back to that memory. And sometimes they forget that they need to make sure that they're never swimming alone. So re-education to children around asking for permission before they use the pool and to never swim alone is extremely important during these times, because now you are priming them to remember that they are not to be in that water by themselves.
So the last one is C, and that's classes and making sure that kids know how to swim at an early age. And usually Valley of the Sun YMCA is such a great resource for that. Years past, we've seen you guys offer free lessons, which really helps build that socioeconomic gap and fill it so that there's access. Obviously, right now, we're in a different situation with this pandemic. So what do you suggest for families? How can they find resources to still keep their kids safe in that way and teach them?
Absolutely. So yeah, like you said, the C in the ABCs is swim lessons and classes. And, right now that's really difficult because there aren't swim lessons going on, and we're not entirely sure when that'll open back up based on the governor's recommendations. So I think for right now, the two biggest things that parents need to focus on is the adult supervision and the barrier aspect of it. And then, when the Valley of the Sun YMCA, for example, opens back up, be able to get those children back into swim lessons. And we're still trying to figure out what that future looks like for us. But our biggest priority is making sure that children are safe in and around the water.
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate your time and this valuable information. It's so very important. We cannot repeat it enough. So thank you very much for sharing.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me.